Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we start chapter number 9, which is related to bus, reactor and capacitor protection. Contents of our today's lecture are: today at the start there will be introduction to the bus bar protection, and then we discuss different methods for the protection of bus bar, that includes overcurrent differential relays, percentage differential relays, high impedance voltage relay for differential protection of bus bar, moderately high impedance relay for the protection of bus bar, linear couplers, directional comparison, and then at the end we discuss partial differential protection of bus bar. Expected outcomes: at the end of the lecture, students will be able to learn about the challenges in bus bar protection and importance of bus bar protection. Students will be able to learn about the use of differential relaying for bus bar protection. Bus bar and bus refer to the same element in power system. Students will be able to learn about the application of high impedance voltage relays for bus differential protection. And student will be able to learn about the use of linear couplers in differential relaying of bus protection in a substation. So these are the expected outcomes. Here we start discussion about the protection of bus in substation. Remember, a bus is one of the most critical system element. Reason because it is connecting point of variety of elements and number of transmission lines. For example, in a substation, all the incoming and outgoing lines are connected to the bus. Similarly, transformers are connected to the bus, and other equipment, other compensating equipment is also connected to the same bus. For example, that includes shunt capacitors, shunt reactors, SVCs, and an auxiliary transformer that is used to provide supply for the local need at the substation. So all that equipment is connected to that bus. In this way, bus will become a common connecting point of many components. So due to this reason, its importance is very high and its protection is will become even more challenging. Reason because the short circuit fault on bus will result in a huge amount of fault current. So that's why detection and immediate clearance of fault is required. At the same time, if protection will maloperate, means fault was not on the bus or bus protection was not supposed to operate but it has operated, then loss will be huge because it will result in outage of all the lines, the transformers and all the connected compensating equipment. So due to this reason, cost of misoperation or you can say failure of operation is very high in case of bus bar protection. So any incorrect operation would cause the loss of all these elements. Due to this reason, bus protection has been the most difficult protection to implement because we need highest reliability. So the major problem with bus protection has been unequal core saturation of current transformer, and soon we will see what is meant by the unequal core saturation. Remember that protection of substation buses is almost universally accomplished by differential relaying. Differential relay suits best for the busbar protection because it has clearly well-defined boundaries and differential protection is highly sensitive as well as secure. So the method of applying differential relay to busbar will make use of Kirchhoff's current law KCL. Means the algebraic sum of all the currents flowing towards a node will be equal to 0, or in other words we can define it as the sum of all the currents flowing towards a node will be equal to current flowing away from the node. Here we start discussion of application of overcurrent differential for busbar protection. So if we want to apply overcurrent differential for bus bar, first we will have to connect the CTs in parallel, and then the parallel combination of CT will be applied across an overcurrent relay. Here this diagram will explain how the CTs will be connected together and then across the overcurrent relay. So this scheme will become overcurrent differential protection of the bus. So the zone of protection for this differential protection will be the bus. If fault occurs on the bus, that would be detected by differential relay. But if fault will occur on any of these lines, differential relay is not going to respond to that fault. Now here we are going to see how this differential relay is going to detect the fault and how it is secure for external fault and during normal condition. So the first requirement for the application of overcurrent differential for busbar protection is the CT ratio must be same everywhere in all the circuits connected across this bus. Means all the lines, transformers and auxiliary equipment, for example shunt capacitors, reactors and SVC, their CT ratio must be same in all these circuits. So for example, in this condition, we have assumed that CT ratio is 500 by 5, mean it is stepping down current by 100 times in all the 4 circuits. Then during normal condition, if we assume that is the flow of current, I have randomly selected direction of current in these circuits. For example, in first circuit, 200 ampere current is flowing towards the bus. In second, it is providing 400 ampere current to the line, then 300 ampere out of the bus into the line, and then 500 ampere from line to the bus. So in this way, the sum of current flowing towards the node is equal to sum of the current flowing away from the node. Now let's see what happens on the secondary side of these CTs. So if this is the polarity marking of the CTs, you can see here the polarity marking of CT is away from the bus in all the 4 circuits. When we have applied the differential protection for rotating machines and for transformer, I have discussed this rule again and again that CT polarity marking should be either towards the equipment or away from the equipment on both sides. So here we have more than 2 sides. Then remember the CT polarity marking must be either towards the bus or away from the bus. In this particular example, it is away from the bus. Then in order to make the CT secondaries in parallel, we have connected the dotted end with the dotted end and non-dotted end of the CT secondaries with non-dotted end. And then this parallel combination has been applied across 87B, that is overcurrent differential relay. According to this polarity marking in the first circuit, current is flowing towards the dotted end in the primary. So that will flow out of the dotted end on the secondary side, and that current will be 2 ampere because CT ratio is 100 times. It is stepping down the current by a factor of 100. So here it is 2 ampere, 4 ampere, 3 ampere and 5 ampere. So direction of current in the secondary circuit has been decided based upon the polarity marking and the direction of current in the primary circuit. Now if we look at the secondary circuit, which I have shown with green color, on this node where all these 4 currents are meeting, the net current which will flow towards the differential branch here towards 87B, that will be equal to the sum of current that is flowing towards the node and some current that is flowing away from the node. So that will become, their algebraic sum will become 0, because we can see here the total 7 ampere is flowing towards the node and 7 ampere current is flowing away from this node. So this is the current that we get here towards the differential branch, and this is the required operation. We don't want any current to flow towards our current branch during the normal operation of power system, which is clear from here in this diagram. Now let's see what happens during the bus fault condition. In the same system, this time we had introduced a bus fault, and for the simplicity of analysis, we will assume that contribution towards this fault from all the circuits will be same. So here this is the direction of flow of current. So current will flow from all these circuits towards that fault which is on the bus. And let's assume The contribution is 1000 ampere from each circuit. So in this way total fault current will be 4000 contributed 1000 ampere from each circuit. Now according to this polarity marking and direction of current in the primary, so direction of current and magnitude will on the secondary side will be here 10 ampere, 10 ampere, 10 ampere and 10 ampere. Obviously we can see here the four currents on the secondary side of CTs are directed towards the node, so there's some algebraic sum will flow towards this differential branch and that would be 40 ampere. So in case of a fault inside the zone of protection of this bus bar differential, 40 ampere current will flow towards that differential branch and relay can easily detect this fault. Now here if we compare this situation with the one that we have just discussed, the normal operation of system. In case of normal operation, there was no current towards the differential branch, zero current. And in case of fault, 40 ampere current is flowing towards the branch. We can say the maximum current is flowing towards this differential branch. So we can set the pickup setting of this overcurrent relay to a very sensitive value so that it is highly sensitive to detect even a minor fault. Next, let's see the response of this relay in case of an external fault. There is again a fault condition but outside the zone of protection. That is known as close in line fault. I mean that is a fault on the line but close to the bus. So the level of fault current is not going to change much. It will remain same because fault location haven't changed too much. So for example, this is the location of fault. On line 1, fault has occurred just outside the zone of protection of bus bar differential. According to the characteristics of differential relay, the bus bar differential must not operate for this fault because this fault should be cleared by the line 1 protection. Let's see how our differential relay will respond to this fault. So this is the direction of fault current being contributed towards the fault in all four circuits. We can see in first circuit current is being contributed towards the fault directly, and circuit 2, 3 and 4 is contributing this fault through bus towards the fault. So here this would be the direction of fault current from the circuit 2, 3 and 4. Now let's assign the fault currents in each circuit. Because fault location is almost same, because this location and bus fault very close to each other, so that's why level of fault is same everywhere. But due to this close in external fault, what had happened? Look at this contribution, that is from bus towards the fault. Now these four cities are not carrying equal current, or you can say the comparable current with respect to each other. The first city is carrying 3000 ampere from its primary. Second, third and fourth city are carrying 1000 ampere each through their primary circuit. Now by using this polarity marking and the direction of fault current to the primary, in the first circuit this would be the direction of fault current in the secondary side, because fault current in the primary circuit is flowing away from the dotted end. So fault current on the secondary side will be towards the dotted end. So that is 30 ampere, because CT is stepping down current by 100 times 3000 will become 30 ampere on the secondary circuit. Now for second, third and fourth circuit, the current is flowing towards the dotted end in the primary circuit. So that will flow out of the dotted end in the secondary circuit and magnitude will be 10 ampere in each. So that is the direction of secondary current in second, third and fourth circuit. Now we can see at this node where we are calculating the algebraic sum of the current, again the algebraic sum of the current will be equal to 0, which is flowing towards this differential branch, which is again according to the requirement, because although that is a fault condition, but that fault is outside the bus differential zone. Line protection will be there to clear this fault, no need for the bus protection to respond to this fault. So obviously we can see here bus differential is getting no current here in this ideal situation. Now this is if everything is ideal. CTs are replicating the primary current ideally without any error. But we can see here the three CTs in case of this close-in external fault are carrying different current. Due to this reason, the first CT, which is carrying as high as 3 times of any other CT primary current, so the error produced here by this CT will be much higher as compared to error produced by the remaining 3 CT. So due to this error, the algebraic sum of the current would not be equal to 0, because the first CT would not give us 30 ampere on the secondary side. This current would be slightly less than 30 due to CT error. And here in case of second, third and fourth, maybe these CT would also not be able to provide 10 ampere, slightly less than 10, but error will be less. Due to this reason, net current will flow towards this differential branch. Now, in case if this fault current level difference is not too high, that difference current due to CT error will not be high as well. And in a result, we can set the pickup setting of this overcurrent differential so that it is greater than the maximum possible difference current during the close-in external fault. But if it is not possible to set overcurrent differential without reducing the sensitivity of the relay, then solution to this problem of here, higher error in this CT core. Solution to this problem is use of percentage differential relay instead of overcurrent differential for bus bar. So here is the second type of protection that we apply to the bus bar protection, that is percentage differential relay, which will take care of that CT error. For percentage differential relay, one operating coil per phase and one restrained winding for each circuit is required. This is how percentage relay will be applied for the differential protection of bus bar. Here we need as many retaining coil as the number of circuits are there, and we need as many operating coil as the number of phases. This is three-phase system, so we need 3 operating coils, and here we have 4 circuits, so we need 4 retaining coil for each phase. So 4 for phase A, 4 for phase B, 4 for phase C. It means this is a single phase circuit. A similar circuit will be for phase B and for phase C. Now here the error produced due to the higher current in one of the CTs, that will be taken care of by this configuration, percentage differential relay, because here the operating current required should be greater than a set percentage of retaining coil current. So in case of an external fault, we have sufficient value of retaining coil current, so operating coil current should also be proportionally higher than that. If that close-in external fault will cause the complete saturation of CT core. Initially we discussed if the CT will produce higher error, so the percentage differential relay can take care of that error current. But if this CT will get completely saturated due to such a high current due to close-in fault, then even percentage differential relay would not be able to provide protection in that condition. Because in case of CT saturation, CT will produce either nothing or very little current on its secondary side. Error may approach more than 80% and 90%. So even percentage differential relay could not block the operation of relay in case of close-in external fault where the CT core has been completely saturated. So solution of that problem is use of high impedance voltage relay, that is also a percentage differential relay but specifically used for bus bar protection. Even with the use of percentage differential relays, the problem of completely saturated CT for a close-in external fault still exists. So to overcome this problem, the most commonly used bus differential relay is high impedance voltage differential relay. This is the voltage that is to be measured in order to make detection of fault, whether it is on the bus or outside the bus protection instead of the current. This relay discriminates between internal and external fault by relative magnitude of voltage across the differential junction point. Here is the diagram that explains how high impedance voltage relay is used for the detection of fault in differential protection of bus bar. Up to this point, the connection of CT secondary is same. All the CT secondaries have been connected in parallel with each other. Now instead of using overcurrent or percentage differential relay, here we have high impedance branch, this one. So initially we have LC tuned filter circuit, which is tuned at fundamental component to allow only the fundamental component to pass over towards this voltage relay. So here we had used a rectifier to convert this voltage into DC, or even if we can use an AC over voltage relay, that could be used without any rectifier. So that means a tuned filter which is tuned at fundamental in series with high impedance voltage relay will make this high impedance branch. In parallel to that, we have a variable resistor that is known as varistor. Its impedance is dependent upon the voltage applied across this branch in series with instantaneous overcurrent relay over here. So what is the purpose of this parallel branch? We will discuss it later when we discuss the example. Just look at this central branch, which is high impedance over voltage relay branch. Now this high impedance will force the CT that may get saturated into complete saturation zone. So that CT may get completely saturated in that condition. In order to understand the working of this high impedance voltage relay, we will discuss an example. Here, consider this simple circuit. This bus has only two circuits connected to this bus, circuit A and B. The CTs connected in this circuit have been connected in parallel and then applied across a high impedance voltage branch, that is 87B. 87 stands for differential relay, standard designation number, and B stand for bus. So differential relay when used for transformer, we normally mention that differential relay with 87T. If it is for generator, that will become 87G. And when this differential relay is applied for the bus, it is 87B. Normally transformer differential will be harmonic restrained percentage differential relay. Generator protection will be only percentage differential relays, and for bus bar that could be high impedance voltage relay for the protection of bus bar. Here I will develop the equivalent circuit of these two CTs connected in parallel to give you the understanding of operation of high impedance voltage relay. We can model the CT with an ideal current source. This is CT for circuit A in parallel with its magnetization branch, and then we had the series impedance. So this is the terminal of CTA in circuit 1. We can call this current, that is IA over N. N will be the CT ratio. So this is the direction of current. So direction of current will be assigned later. So here if we assign the impedance here, that will be X excitation impedance of CTA. The second script stand for the circuit A, and this impedance we can call it Z series of A. That includes current transformer secondary leakage impedance plus the leads impedance of these wires which have been used to connect the CT secondary with the relay. So that has been lumped into this impedance Z as A, Z series of circuit A. In the same manner, we have in parallel the CT of circuit B. So here I will draw that CT of circuit B, that is series impedance of CT in circuit B the magnetization branch or excitation branch, that will be XEB, in parallel an ideal current source that represents ideal transformer which will step down the primary current into secondary. So here we assign the direction of current later. So this is the point where we had connected these two cities in parallel. So here comes the high impedance differential branch, XD. XD stands for the reactance of our voltage relay. Now in condition of normal operation, this would be the direction of flow of current. If we had assumed that current in circuit A, in its secondary circuit, is in upward direction, so current here in B will be in downward direction. So that is the downward current. Its magnitude will be IB over N, the CT ratio. As CT ratio is same, so current which is flowing towards the bus and away from the bus is also same. So due to this reason, IA over N and IB over N both will be equal, and the direction that as I have shown here in this diagram. Now during normal condition, this would be the path for the flow of current in equivalent circuit from this ideal source through these series branches through this ideal current source. Because current is exactly equal produced by these two ideal sources, that's why current would not be able to flow towards these magnetization branches here, here and here, or if that current is flowing in that circuit, that will be too small, almost negligible. This is the path taken by this current, the outer path. So in this condition, how much voltage will appear across this XD, the our voltage relay? Remember, there would be no voltage. Voltage across this ideal current source will be exactly same as voltage drop across this branch. Similarly, here the voltage drop across here and voltage that will be produced by this current source. So in this loop, there will be zero voltage from this point to this point across this high impedance voltage relay. So no voltage will be able to appear across this branch. This is how it will respond in case of normal operating condition. Next, we assume a bus fault. Due to a bus fault, very heavy current will flow in both the circuits, and the direction of current will be towards the bus in both the CTs. So now let's see how this current will flow here in the equivalent circuit. Due to this fault, direction of current in circuit B would also change. So that will be same as the direction in circuit A. Now magnitude is also very high, and now this current is going to be forced to flow through this high impedance branch from two sides. Because direction is same, so here current will flow in this magnetization branch, high impedance over voltage relay, and high impedance of this magnetization branch. So all these three impedances which would carry this high current are very high in magnitude. Due to this reason, the voltage that will develop across this over voltage relay over here in this differential branch will be very high, and we can easily set this over voltage relay to make a discrimination between normal condition and a fault on the bus bar. Because during the fault on bus bar, very high voltage will appear across that differential branch, and in case of normal condition, no voltage will appear at all. So this is how this high impedance voltage relay will be able to make a discrimination between the normal operating condition and fault condition. But the real application of this relay was in case and close in external fault when one CT get completely saturated. Now we are going to discuss this concept. Here that is meant by a close in external fault, the fault that had occurred outside zone of protection. Let's see first response of this CT connection in case of this fault. Due to the fault current outside the zone of protection, current here in circuit B will be downward as the CT ratio is same. So due to this reason, the current will again take the route of external path. This will take this route, fault current, from this ideal current source through these series branches, through this our current source over here and back to the normal. So it will circulate in outer loop. Again, if everything is ideal, no CT gets saturated and CTs are producing equal replica, or you can say perfect replica of this fault current on the secondary side, the behavior of this relay during normal condition and during close in external fault will be same, no problem at all. This differential branch would carry zero voltages. But what happens if one of the CT, for example this CT in circuit B, get completely saturated? What is mean by the CT saturation? Here it is important to understand. Here is the magnetizing characteristics of core material. This is the linear region. Here we have knee point, and then finally we had here the saturation region. During saturation region, the slope of magnetic characteristics collapse almost to zero or become very small, and this slope is known as the inductance of magnetization branch. So inductance reduces here in case of saturation of CT. As inductance will reduce, same thing will happen with this XE. This XE will reduce to a very small value, that is known as CT saturation. For example, CT here in circuit B has been saturated, then it means this excitation branch that will become short circuited or will have very small impedance here. Now due to this reason, what will be the path for the flow of current, fault current, if one of the CT gets saturated? Instead of taking path through this ideal current source, now this fault current will flow through this short circuit path over here. Okay. Due to this reason, there will be a voltage drop across this high impedance branch in this polarity, plus, minus, and then this is a short circuit. Due to this short circuit, no voltage will be able to appear across these 2 points, so that will become 0 volt. So net voltage that will appear across this voltage relay, that would be Z series of saturated CT into IA over N. So that is the voltage that will appear across relay. So in condition of ideal situation, no voltage will appear. V relay will be equal to 0 for close in external fault. But in case of complete CT saturation, this much voltage, ZSB into IN over N, that would appear across the relay. Now remember, this impedance Z series is much smaller as compared to impedance of this high impedance voltage branch or the excitation impedance. So this voltage will be much smaller as compared to the voltage across the relay during internal fault. So we can set this relay to its pickup setting above this voltage that would appear in case of a closing external fault when one CT get completely saturated. And if fault will occur outside the zone of protection, then over voltage relay, although it is observing voltage, but it would not operate. But if fault will occur inside the zone of protection, very high voltage will appear across the voltage relay and it will immediately trip that fault. So this is how fault is detected in case of bus bar differential protection by using high impedance voltage relay. So now problem of CT saturation has been solved. So criteria for relay setting is, relay is set to 2 times of this voltage that would appear across the relay during a closing external fault when one of the CT gets saturated. Now to make relay setting very sensitive, we want this impedance ZSB as small as possible. So let's analyze this impedance. What are the different components of this impedance? Z series is equal to, first is leakage impedance, leakage reactance, plus resistance of secondary winding. This is the first part. Plus the second part of this impedance is impedance of leads. Leads are these wires that are used to connect the city secondary with the relay. So we want to keep this thing as small as possible. So in order to reduce this X leakage reactance, there are few assumptions. First assumption is we will use maximum turns available in the city secondary when we are connecting for high impedance voltage relay. Means we are not going to use the tappings, because when we use a smaller tap as compared to the full city secondary winding, so leakage reactance will increase, leakage flux will increase, and winding should be uniformly distributed all over the toroidal core of the city. No portion of the core must left uncovered by the winding, so that will result in leakage flux. Second, conductor used for the secondary winding should have a larger dia to reduce this RS. Again, the use of auxiliary CT is not recommended. So in order to have the same current, we will have to use CT ratio equal in all the circuits, because auxiliary CTs cannot be used to equalize or to match the CT ratio. By using these method, we can keep this ZS series as small as we want. So that will make relay voltage low during the external fault, and the setting of the relay will become sensitive. So here are those points. So CT have fully distributed winding and use at full winding, because we want CT leakage reactance to be as small as possible. So if CT leakage reactance is sufficient, that may increase the operating voltage of the relay during closing external fault, and that may make the setting of the relay insensitive. So CT ratio should be same in all the circuits, because we cannot use auxiliary CTs. Auxiliary CTs are not recommended. And conductor that is used for the leads to connect the CT secondary with the relay, that conductor should also have low impedance. So these are the recommendation for the use of high impedance voltage relay. Next we solve another example. That example is important. It is given for this example that a bus has 3 circuits connected to it. The CT ratio in all the 3 circuits is same, that is 100/1. So it is being protected with the help of high impedance voltage relay, and impedance of that voltage relay is given as 2600 ohm. Further, it is given that the leakage impedance including the leads impedance for each of these CT is equal to 2 ohm. Calculate the relay setting and the voltage across the relay in case of an internal fault. The data which is further given to us in case of a bus fault, this is the contribution towards the fault. The circuit 1 is contributing 2000 ampere, circuit 2 is contributing 4000, and circuit 3 is contributing 1000 ampere. So this is the statement of the question. I'm repeating it again. We need to evaluate to find out V set for the relay, and we will evaluate the voltage across the relay for internal fault. This should be evaluated for bus fault. So here we proceed by first develop its equivalent circuit, so that we have full understanding what is going to happen in case of close in external fault and a bus fault. So let me draw the circuit over here. So for the first circuit, this is its magnetization branch in series with the resistance of series branch, that is, let's assume to be 2 ohm. That is the first CT. In circuit 1, I have omitted the ideal current source here, so I will assign that current to the branch. Then the second is 2 ohm, again the series impedance in series with the magnetization branch. Then the third circuit in the same way in parallel, that is a series combination of 2 ohm series impedance in series with the excitation branch, and the parallel combination of these three CTs have been connected across the high impedance of the voltage relay, so that is 2600 ohm. Now, in case of fault on the bus, the direction of fault current is same. So here this branch would carry a current of, according to this, 20 ampere. This branch would carry a current of 40 ampere, and this branch will carry a current of 10 ampere. And this current will flow through this high impedance branch of the relay for internal fault. We will calculate it later. So let's do this calculation and complete this second part first. V relay in case of internal fault, V relay is equal to the sum of these three current 70 into 2600, and that is 182 kilovolt. That is too high voltage across the relay in case of an internal fault, and that would not appear without damaging the insulation of the secondary circuit of CT secondaries. That's why some protection is required on the secondary side of CTs to avoid this much high voltage to build up. Next we are going to find out the V set. So V set will be evaluated for a maximum external fault. Now here I am giving you three different possibilities. For the calculation of V set, we will have to assume an external fault. So there are three possibilities of external fault. Fault could be here in this line, fault could be here in this line, fault could be here in this line. All these are three closing faults. For the calculation of V relay, which fault should be assumed? Remember, we consider the worst case. So the situation where the voltage across relay is maximum, that is known as the maximum external closing fault. So here what is mean by the maximum external closing fault? For example, if we assume fault is over here, then the 2000 ampere will be contributed from this line directly to the fault, and then 4000, this one, plus 1000, 5000 is being contributed through the primary of this CT. CT will carry 5000 ampere current. If we assume a fault current here in the second circuit, then the contribution from this side will be 4000, and contribution of fault current from the bus side, that will become 3000 ampere. But if we assume that fault is here in the third circuit just outside the zone of protection, then the direct contribution will be 1000 ampere, and the contribution from the bus side will be the sum of these two, 4000 plus 2000. So that contribution will become 6000. Now which is the worst condition? Here if we assume fault here in this first case, the CT primary is carrying 5000, in second case 3000, in third case 6000. So the situation is worst here for this CT current. If fault occurs here in this circuit just outside zone of protection, that is the worst case, that may produce the highest voltage across the relay. So how to decide among many available circuit which would be the worst condition? The circuit which is contributing least towards the fault, in that circuit if closing external fault will occur, will have the worst situation. So in our bus fault, this circuit was contributing just 1000 ampere, but when a closing external fault will occur, that will be the worst situation. Means 6000 ampere is being contributed or being carried by this CT, and chances are highest that CT may get saturated and voltage are highest across the differential branch. Now redraw this diagram and solve the example for V set and V relay. If we assume an external fault here, this is the path for the flow of current. So contribution from bus side is 6000 ampere, and if I redraw the circuit quickly here, This is the magnetization branch of the first circuit in series with the impedance magnetization branch, then again impedance and the magnetization branch, and then series high impedance voltage relay, that is 2 ohm, 2 ohm, 2 ohm, and that is 2.6 kilo ohm. Now we had assumed the fault is here in bus 3. The direction of fault current here will be upward in circuit A and its magnitude will be 20 ampere. That would also be upward here in circuit B. Its magnitude will be 40 ampere. Here the direction has been reversed here in this circuit, and that is 60 ampere. Now due to the complete saturation of this city, due to carrying such a high current, this branch, magnetization branch, will get short circuit due to the saturation of city. Now this 20 plus 40 ampere current will take this path through this series impedance and will result in voltage drop in this polarity, and then through the short circuit and back to the branches. Now the voltage that would appear across this high impedance branch will be this voltage that will occur across a series impedance due to this 60 ampere current. So we can say the voltage across the relay during that closing external fault will be 2 into the total current is 60, and that is equal to 120 volt. And the criteria for the setting of the relay, because this is the maximum voltage that would appear across the relay if a closing external fault occurs. If we assume that closing external fault was here in this circuit, then the voltage across the relay would be 2 into the contribution 20 from here, 10 from here, this will become 30, that is just 60 volt. If we assume that closing fault is here in the first circuit, so the voltage drop across that 2 ohm series impedance will be due to this current 4000 and 5000, that will be 100 volt. So 120 is the maximum value that will occur when closing fault occurs in this third circuit. So setting criteria, V set will be equal to 2 times of voltage across the relay for external close-in fault. So that will become 120 into 2, that is 240 volt. So this 240 volt is the pickup setting, V set. If the voltage will be greater than 240, that is clear indication that fault is on the bus, because for any fault outside the bus, even in worst condition that CT has completely saturated, that is not going beyond this value. Now let's go back to this diagram where we have calculated the relay voltage for a bus fault, and that turned out to be 182 kilovolt, which is huge voltage. In order to provide protection on the secondary side, here we have added a parallel branch with the help of a variable resistance and instantaneous overcurrent relay. When I have shown you the diagram of that high impedance voltage relay, there was a parallel branch to this voltage relay, that was a variable resistor, the varistor, and instantaneous overcurrent relay. So what is the purpose of this branch? If such a high voltage is going to build, this variable resistor or varistor resistance will reduce to 0, and instead of building high voltage across this voltage, that 70 ampere current would flow towards this branch and result in tripping due to the tripping of instantaneous overcurrent relay. It means a high magnitude internal fault will result in tripping of the overcurrent relay instead of that voltage relay, and protect the voltage circuit or city secondary circuit from getting a very high dangerous voltage. But if bus fault occurs through high impedance and fault current is low, then this instantaneous branch would not be able to respond to that fault. In that condition, the over voltage relay would respond and clear the fault. So this is the purpose of that parallel branch. If I go back to that slide and show you that position of the circuit, here the overcurrent relay, the purpose of this overcurrent relay is to trip the circuit breaker when a high magnitude internal fault occurs. So that will protect this circuit to get very high voltage, because variable resistor or this resistor resistance will reduce to 0 as soon as voltage will become higher than its rating, and that will provide a short circuit path for the flow of heavy current. That will be 70 ampere in our example that we had solved, and immediately result in tripping of this overcurrent relay. So next we'll discuss moderately high impedance relay. This is combination of high impedance voltage relay and percentage differential relay. The percentage restraint characteristics make the relay application independent of maximum external fault condition. This time no need to calculate the voltage setting. Reason because now the restraining action will make the voltage setting variable. The voltage setting will become variable according to the restraining voltage, the restraining branches that will have the voltage. So like a percentage differential relay. In case of percentage differential relay, the operating coil current which is required to trip will become a set percentage of the restraining coil current. So in case of moderately high impedance voltage relay, now the operating voltage of that voltage branch will become a variable percentage of the restraining voltage. So the relay is usually connected into the system with special auxiliary CTs. So it means we can use the auxiliary CTs. So use of auxiliary CTs will also remove that binding that the CT ratio must be same in all the circuits. Now CT ratio could be different. We can equalize the CT ratio with the help of auxiliary CTs. So CT in different circuit may have different CT ratio. After that we discuss the linear couplers. That is another solution of saturation of CT. Fault current level is very high. In case of close-in external fault, CT may get saturated, and due to the CT saturation, the protection may operate for external fault. So to avoid that CT saturation, we may exclude the electromagnetic CTs from the bus bar protection and can use alternate with the help of linear couplers. We have discussed these linear couplers in chapter number 3. These are CTs without iron core. So there is no chance of saturation of these linear couplers. So linear couplers are air core mutual reactors are used in place of conventional iron core CTs. So linear coupler have linear characteristics and produce a secondary voltage that is proportional to the primary current. So these linear couplers are actually current to voltage transducer or converter. So on the secondary side of linear coupler we don't get a current because these linear couplers have very limited ability to provide secondary current. What we do, by inserting a resistors over there, we convert that current into a voltage. That voltage will be proportional to the primary current. So this design to solve the problem of saturation. Since there is no iron in the CT core, so there is no problem of CT saturation. The secondaries of all the linear couplers are connected in series and then applied across a voltage relay like this. So here 87B, that is a high impedance voltage relay, and these are the linear couplers connected in series. When everything is normal, remember the voltage here across these couplers, their sum will be equal to 0 because some of the current will be flowing away from the bus and some of the currents are flowing towards the bus. So voltage drop will be in such a way that the net sum of the voltage will be 0 when everything is normal, and same is true for an external close-in fault. But in case of a bus fault, the polarity of all these voltage will be same and we get a net voltage across this voltage relay because direction of current has become same. Now the voltage across all these linear couplers will be in series, and here we get a net voltage across this high impedance voltage relay that can easily detect this voltage, and discrimination can be made between internal fault and external fault without having an issue of CT saturation. The performance of relay connected to a linear coupler is determined as follow. So this is secondary voltage. Secondary voltage I primary multiplied by the mutual impedance of primary and secondary. So this mutual impedance multiplied by primary current will give us the voltage available on the secondary side of a linear coupler. where M is the mutual impedance of coupler and specified by the manufacturer. This is known as the factor by which the current is converted into voltage in a linear coupler. For an external fault, the sum of all of the induced voltage is 0, and for an internal fault, all the currents are flowing in the same direction and induced voltage get added and we get a net voltage across the relay. Now at the end, we will discuss partial differential protection. A full differential requires that all the circuits which is connected to a bus must be part of the differential protection. Mean current which is flowing in any of the connected circuit to the bus must be included there into the differential protection of the bus. That is known as full differential. If due to any reason, if one or more than one circuits are not part of the differential, that is known as partial differential protection. Here, this is the example of full differential protection where there were 4 circuits connected to the bus and current from all those 4 circuits have been paralleled first and then applied across the differential branch. Sometimes, however, the current in one or more of the primary circuits are not being included in the summation of the current in differential circuit, and that is known as partial differential protection. For example, this load is auxiliary transformer connected to the bus which is supplying power for the local need of the substation, and normally a circuit breaker is not used over there. We normally use an isolator, and further the amount of this load is much smaller as compared to the load carried by these circuits, circuit 1 and 2. So due to this reason, that will add extra expense to include this load into the differential protection. So normally we can ignore this. So the pickup setting of overcurrent differential or the voltage setting will be set according to this leakage current, because this load which has been tapped to fulfill the local requirement of the substation is almost negligible with respect to the load which has been carried by these transmission line or transformers. So we can compare in this manner. For example, local demand could be 100 kVA or 200 kVA, but the power carried by these transmission line can be 100 MVA. So that will become just 0.1% of the total load. 100 kVA with respect to 100 MVA, there is a difference of 1000 times. So 100 kVA is negligible as compared to 100 MVA. Even 1 MVA could be the losses in the transformer of 100 MVA transformer. So that is a 99% efficient transformer. So that makes this load negligible. So no need to include that into the differential. That make it partial differential protection. So it is common planning practice to provide duplicate feed into one or more areas. The feeders are then split between the 2 buses like this. So here we have a single bus scheme, but to increase the reliability of single bus, because single bus is the least reliable. If fault occurs on the bus, the complete bus will be out. So in order to increase the reliability, what we do is we split the bus into 2. Same single bus has now 2 portions. That will become a split bus configuration. So a tiebreaker is used to connect the bus together to make it work as single bus, and when this breaker is open, that will make it a single bus. Now in this situation, the bus is protected with the help of 2 partial differential protections. One for the bus 1, second for the bus 2. If fault occur on bus 1, then only 87B would detect this fault and open this tiebreaker as well along with these 2 breakers. Similarly, fault occurs here in bus 2, only 87B2 will detect this fault and open this tiebreaker along with these 2 circuits. The breaker and half scheme is the most common extra high voltage system bus configuration. It also uses partial differential protection for the protection of complete breaker and half scheme. So the primary advantage of this configuration is that double bus fault is unlikely due to the physical distance between 2 buses. a breaker or a relay can be removed from the maintenance without removing the primary element. We have discussed these advantages when we had discussed the bus bar protections. So from the protection point of view, each bus can be considered a single bus, single breaker configuration like this. Now we have two bus. This is a breaker and half scheme. But once we want to provide the protection, each bus will be treated as a single bus. So if I hide the lower portion here up to this point, if this portion is removed, then the upper portion look like a simple differential protection for a single bus single breaker scheme. So protection is much simpler, although the implementation of this bus bar scheme is much expensive. So here we have provided protection with the help of two partial differential protection to this breaker and half scheme. Now somebody may ask this question that this bus 1 is being protected by 87B1, this bus 2 is being protected with the help of 87B2. What about this portion in each circuit? Which protection is over there? Remember, that will be included into line protection. That will be part of line protection because lines are connected here at these points, and line protection will cover this portion which is between two bus bar protections. Because when fault occurs here in this section, no need to trip any of the bus, only line protection should operate and open this circuit breaker from here and from the other end. So that is end of the lecture.